Hello, and what's this week's Devil in the Detail podcast? I'm Rob Parkinson, and we're here talking all things Salford Red Devils. Joining me the show this week, as ever, we've got Paul Whiteside, not keeping Britain warm this evening. Paul, how have you been?
I know you said as ever there. I've not been on, have I? Yeah, I've been all right, buddy. Yeah, I'm okay. Busy and that. It's starting to quieten off a bit of work now, so should be a bit more available hopefully in the future now and what have you. But yeah, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Yeah, good. My fitness diabetes regime is going quite well. 18.2 now away. I've lost about 1.5 stone in 6 weeks, which is pretty good. No exercise, not like yourself. But yeah, going in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, good. Sounds good. That's a good amount of weight to lose that in a short space of time, really. Anyway, you've just got to keep at it. Now, what's that from? Is that from healthy eating then and
Yeah.
dieting and what have you?
No carbs,
Right.
no bread, no chips. Just no carbs really. But what it is, I'm not doing no carbs. I'm just doing no major carbs, if you know what I mean.
Right. Plenty of fruit and vegetables and stuff.
Yeah, and all that. So I'd like to get down. My next target is, remember, before the pandemic, where I was going to the gym and going to the gym at antisocial hours 3 times a week and all that, doing all the sweaty gym selfies and all that. What you've got to do if you don't take a picture in the gym, do you actually go? I took 3 a week, so I definitely went. I got down to something like 17, 13, so I'm not too far away from that. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, I'll pass it.
What's your goal to get to it altogether? Or have you not decided?
To be honest, I'd like to get down to about 15, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not impossible. Yeah, it's not impossible, is it?
I think for me height, I think it's between 12 and 15. I think 12, I'd be skinny at 12, but 15, I think I'd look a decent. I'd have the physique. I think 15 to be a decent second row, I reckon.
Yeah, sometimes your frame will only allow you to get to a certain weight. I mean, I walk about 13 stone really all the time, and I have dropped below before, but I probably couldn't get to 12. If I got to 12 stone, I'd look seriously ill. So you probably won't get anywhere near 12, would you? But like you said, you'd look like so skinny. But no, if you get to 15, and that's a big drop in it. And for someone like you're tall like me, so I think when I get my weight done, mine always says between 13 and 16 stone. So you get to around about that, you're roughly about right, aren't you?
Yeah, like I say, that's the goal. We'll see how it goes, but we're doing quite well, quite happy with the progress. So there's loads going on this week. Paul, we're going to look back at the Huddersfield defeat. We've got the reserves, we've got the ladies, we've got all the big news coming out of the club this week. We've got your Whiteside's World of Rugby League, and then we'll preview the game against Lee Leopards on Saturday. So we'll start with the defeat against Huddersfield on Sunday. So Salford Devils were defeated against Huddersfield Giants. They lost 16 points to 26. Obviously, a tough game. Huddersfield are a playoff side. We're struggling with injuries. And unfortunately, Huddersfield just had enough to get them over the line.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought they had us at arm's length for most of the game, really, Rob. I think the amount of possession they had, they could have won about 3 matches. But for me, if you're an Huddersfield supporter, I'd be chuffed they'd won, but I think you'd be a bit worried because they had that much ball in that game and they didn't really create much. They're very, very conservative, aren't they? And very sort of safety first, which is good, but they don't give a lot away. They defend really well. But I think for them, if they want to win anything this season, they're probably going to have to play a bit more expansive than what they played because you're not going to win a championship playing like that. But for Salford, yeah, it was a mixture of things, really. I think the squad is catching up with us at the moment, the injuries and things. And like Tyler Dupree again had to do massive minutes. There's certain players who look like they're carrying bits of knocks and what have you. And we're a bit low, aren't we, at the moment? Joe Burgess went off as well and got injured. So then he got shifted around again. Matt Costello played on the wing. So yeah, Paul Rowley's having to shuffle his pack a bit at the moment. And let's have it right, Huddersfield are a good side. So, they're not going to give anything away. So we wasn't a million miles off. I mean, we give a real comedy try away, didn't we? That first try Huddersfield scored. So if you take that 6 points off, it's only 4 points then. and 2 points with a penalty goal. So there wasn't a lot in the game really. I think Huddersfield deserved it, but I think our effort was top notch. We just didn't have the numbers really, and a bit like the Wigan game.
Yeah, that first try, the Golden try error. I think a mix up between, I think it was Stone and Mark Sneed. Ball goes down, they scoop up and score. And obviously, in these kind of games, you can't give points away like that. Obviously, in playoff conditions, it is a bit of a sickener. But like you said, we were in the competition. We did sort of have to sort of defend for long periods. Huddersfield had the ball a lot, I thought, but we did obviously test them. They went 8-0 up with a penalty after sort of interception, raised back. We had conceded a penalty to stop the try, and they kicked it to make it 8-0. And then we got on the board. Shane Wright try, lovely assist from Mark Sneed, and we were back in the contest at 6-8.
Yeah, it was. It was a good try. That Shane Wright's been playing pretty well recently, hasn't he? And yeah, we did. We got back into the game there. Then obviously Huddersfield scored not long after that to nudge themselves in front. And with them having that 2 point from the penalty goal, it was back to 14 points to 6. There was a stage, I think it was in the second half. I think it was 16-10. I'm sure it was 16-10 to Huddersfield. And we got the ball back. I think we got a scrum. I think Huddersfield knocked on in their own half. And we had a set of 6. And I thought, right, this could be it now. We could get level here. And Shane Wright come up with a knock, and I think it was a tackle from Matty English, the Huddersfield prop. It was a cracking tackle on Wright, and he lost the ball, and that was it after that. So there was big moments in the game, like the gift try we give him, and like that knock on that just didn't go our way on Sunday. And Huddersfield did the little things right, really, didn't they? Did the basics right, and just did enough. So yeah, it was disappointing, really.
Yeah, the Trout try, the first try for him was the killer. I thought on our time. Good try, good shift from left to right, sucked us in. We couldn't get across quick enough, and he did the rest. So we went in half time down 6-14, and obviously Huddersfield a difficult team to play against. Like you say, it's all calculated. It's all keep the ball, play your sets out, and try and sort of squeeze a team. And obviously, when you're behind, Paul, it's a bit difficult to turn that round, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, and really, I think they're underachieving a bit, Huddersfield, because when you look at the team that they've got, Will Price was on there, they had Jake Connor on there, Tui Lollier came on. They've got an awful lot of pivots there. That Russell as well is a decent player, and got a lot of pivots, got a lot of creativity players, and they don't seem to create that much, really. They don't seem to work. I think with Ian Watson, the Huddersfield coach, I don't think he's found his best side yet. I think he's still tinkering a bit, isn't he, and trying to work out, who he wants where, and does he want Lollier at full back? Obviously Connor can play there as well. Will Price can play there. They can all play half back. So I think he's trying to work that out. But for us, it was a shame, really, because there was an awful lot of effort went into that match, and then obviously you lost Joe Burgess at the start of the second half. You had to shift Matty Costello to the wing, like I said before. And to be honest with you, he scored a good try, did Matty Costello. It was a good finish, that. And I like to sing Matty's praises because I think he's played twice this season, the Wakefield game and Sunday's game, and I think he's been great. I think he's showed an awful lot of enthusiasm. He's been solid in defence, and he deserves his chance in the team. I know it's come at Tim Laffey's injured, and it's a shame for Tim, but one door closes and one opens, doesn't it? So I in a funny way, I hope Matty gets a good run in the team. Now, not that I want Tim Laffey to be out injured, but I'd like Matty to get a good run in the side now because I think he deserves it. But no, that was a shame with Joe Burgess, because I don't know if Paul Rowley said anything to you in the press conference, but is he going to be out, Rob, or are we not sure?
I think he said it's a muscle injury, and I don't think he's fit for this week. But then he didn't say Tim Laffey wasn't going to be fit when he turned up. So I think he's borderline. I think Andy Ackers is borderline as well. So it's difficult, isn't it, when you've got a lack of bodies and games coming thick and fast. Obviously, Huddersfield are a good team as well. And you could tell. Obviously, Paul Rowley was a bit sort of gutted that he didn't have a full sort of strength squad to pitch against Huddersfield, because I think if we did have a full team that was fit, we'd have run them pretty close.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing. I mean, we were running pretty close anyway. We lost by 10
Yeah.
points, didn't we? And as I said, one of them tries was a gift. But you look at the players. I mean, we saw the players coming out on Sunday, didn't we? And we was having a chat, and you've got Oliver Partington walking out there, and you've got Andy Ackers, you've got Alex Gerrard. There's three players. Tim Lafayette, another one. Who we're really missing. You take your hooker out and you lose forward, and a player as good as Gerrard as well out of any side. They're struggling, but a side that's got only a small squad like us, those three are a big miss for us. And I think if them three had played, or them four had played at the weekend, we probably would have beat Huddersfield. So yeah, that's the worry going into this game on Saturday against Leigh. They seem to be. I know they got beat against Wigan, but they've got a bit of a confidence now, and the tail's up a little bit. So it's important that we get back to, back on the arse really, because what you don't want now is more injuries and to start spiral out of control. So at the moment we're hanging on in there, aren't they? And Rowley's doing it tough. But as we'll say in the news, we've lost another player, haven't we, this week in Ryan Lannons. So the squad's getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah. So, like you said, second half started. Joe Burgess went off. We had a bit of a shuffle around. Costello went on the wing. Sam Stone went into the centre. Obviously he's played out of position there, Paul. I've never seen him up close. We talked to him after the game, and interviewed him after the game. He's massive. I think I put him in the same category as like Joe Burgess. Huge. I didn't think when I'm classic on the field, all the players sort of blend in with each other because everyone's massive. But in normal life, I saw him. I thought, wow, you're huge, aren't you?
Who's that, Sam Stone?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a tall lad. And I tell you what, he doesn't carry any weight though. He's absolutely ripped, isn't he? There's no, he's I wouldn't say he's skinny, but he's there's no fat on him at all. He's like, a real athlete. And I thought that when I saw him walk out. And he's quite a serious looking fella as well, isn't he? But no, I think he's impressed me. He's worked hard. He's a good tackler, isn't he? I mean, he's still finding his feet in the team. He's not played that much as he yet. So we would like to see him a bit more, running out wide a bit more, doing the same sort of job that Shane Wright does. But I think, his defence is pretty solid, and he's a good acquisition to the squad.
Yeah. So Costello scored. Huddersfield got a penalty with Russell to make it 16-10 them. And then Trout scored his second. Misread in the Salford defence, and Trout found an edge, and he went over to make it 22-10 and put Clear Blue C between the two teams.
Yeah, there's a big gap there, wasn't there, that he went through. I think, is it Matt English who put him through that gap? And it was poor defending, I thought, from that. We didn't really read that situation. And he went over for his second try. And that was good night Vienna, really. We weren't really going to come back from that. And I know Callum Watkins got a late try. It was probably one of the tries of the game, actually. We kept the ball alive there, didn't we, from that piece of play. It went through a few pairs of hands, and Callum got the try. And I think we deserved that score towards the end of the game. I don't think there was a lot of points in it. I mean, 10 points win for Huddersfield. Yeah, they probably deserved it. I think they were the better team on the day. They were a lot more organised than we were, and they took the chances. And I think they'll do that to a lot of teams this season. I think they'll wear teams down, won't they? And they'll nail you. You give a penalty away and they'll take it. They'll take the points on offer, won't they? And like I said before, they might not win the league playing like that, but you'll probably win more games than you lose, won't you? So, but as for us, the disappointing thing for me was we played 3 home games this season: Wakefield, OKR, and Huddersfield, and we've been pretty flat in all 3 of them. If you think back to the OKR game, we didn't play that well. It was a bit scratchy. The Wakefield game, you can give Wakefield credit; they played all right, didn't they? But it was a poor performance by our standards, wasn't it? And then, especially after the Hull game the week before, we come back and served that up against Wakefield, and then the Huddersfield game. So I think in front of our home supporters, we're crying out for a good performance, aren't we?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that, Paul. I think Ryan Briley said something today like, in the stats, we score every 5 tackles when we're in the opposition half, which kind of is the problem for us, is getting to that their half for me. Huddersfield did a number on us. We just struggled to break out. The last 15 minutes when we were sort of chasing the game, we promoted the ball a bit, and we asked a lot of questions. But you're chasing the game, and you can't play like that all the time. Even though Rowley ball is a form of creative way of playing rugby league, but when you're chasing the game, it's a different kind of feel in it, and I don't think we can play that way all the time.
No, you can't. That's where you need your pack. to get on top. And for me, Huddersfield beat us up in the forward. Really, we never really won that arm wrestle. So you kick on the last tackle isn't really going anywhere, is it? Because you're not turning the fullback around because you're too far away. He's picking the ball up and running the ball back. And by the time he tackled him, he was on the halfway line. So we were never getting that sort of territory. And I don't know what you can blame that on at the moment, really, because I said before about Tyler Dupree, he seems to be working his socks up, doing massive minutes. Yeah, Jack Ormonroyd, I think the second half he came on, he never touched the ball, and he went off again. So I don't know whether he's carrying a bit of an injury. I don't know whether certain players are carrying injuries, but you can't expect to lump all the work on one or two players in the pack. The whole pack's got to work, and you'll find that out this weekend. Lee are going to throw the kitchen sink at us on Saturday. So if our forwards aren't up for it, that game will be one of the forwards on Saturday against Lee. There's no doubt about that. We've got to get on top in the pack. We've got to muscle up, and against Huddersfield, they've got a rough, tough pack there. That's a Chris Hill and that Trout. I thought had a good game, and Matty English as well.
Get a result.
Yeah, I think Matty Costello's the shortest interview I've ever done. Yeah, he was chuffed with his try, and that. I don't think he mustn't have spoke to me before. Or I'm sure I spoke to Matty before, but he might have been a bit nervous. But nice lad, and I wished him all the best for this week. But no, yeah, Paul Rowley disappointed as well, and he's doing it tough at the moment. I was listening. It's funny sometimes because Trevor Hunt did his interview with him first, and you're always a bit wary. You don't want to ask the same questions as what Trevor had asked, and it was difficult really because when you've lost the game, you've sort of got to go over the negative things, haven't you, and what they've done in the match. And you try and keep positive, really. And I know Paul always does try and keep positive and keep positive spin on things.
Yeah, and I suppose that's an important thing because he is the figurehead, and he needs to sort of defend his players and support his players because obviously the media is a big thing. If what he says is broadcast out on Radio Manchester, on BBC, and it's kind of important that he sends the right message out to everybody, to the supporters, to his players, and everyone else who's listening.
Yeah, of course it is. You don't want to be too negative, and especially this sort of this time in the season. Now, like I said to you before, you're only ever sort of 2 weeks away from a crisis, aren't you? Any sort of sporting club. So you've got to you've just got to keep your feet on the ground and keep working, haven't you? You get a couple of wins, and you're the best thing since sliced bread again, aren't you? So that's how sort of funny sport is sometimes. So going through a bit of a tough time at the moment, but I think you got to look back to last season. I can't remember the stats, but I've got my stat book here. I'll have to have a look, actually. Just look at the first 10 games, first 10 dozen games we played last year. I don't think we've won that many. And then we came home with a wet sail in the second half of the season, didn't we? So, and if you remember rightly, that good run we had a real settled side and no injuries. So hopefully we can get like injuries and bits and bobs out of the way in the early part of the season. And as players come back, you're going to find that you start playing, getting better results again. But injuries are going to play a massive part when you've only got a small squad, and I think me and you said that, didn't we, at the start of the season? It's going to be tough, especially at the weekend. You had, I think it was Ben Ellywell came in and Andrew Dixon came in, and credit to him, they put a shift in, but neither of them have really played yet this season, so they've got to find their feet. They've got to get a match fitness as well, so that's difficult when you've got injuries.
Yeah, it is, and obviously, you're talking about getting match fit and sort of lack of bodies, and it is an issue. But I suppose flip it over the other side, like you said, back end of the season, business end of the season, these players who are being out for a period of time will be fresher than hopefully some of our opponents because they'd have had a long, hard season. So in the mixer later on in the season, we may have a bit more juice in our tank, you'd hope.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, it's funny, really, isn't it? I mean, the other week we got 60 points at Hull. Nobody really says anything about injuries then or players that got missing, and we had quite a few players missing for that game. So you only sort of highlight when you're losing, don't you? But yeah, I get where you're coming from. Hopefully, we can sign some players. I don't know if we can, but if we could get one or two players in on loan, I think it'd help us, wouldn't it? Just to bolster the squad slightly. But no, I don't think it's time to worry at the moment. I don't think we're doing too bad.
Yeah, I said to Paul Rowley today, Easter's is all about miracles in it. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with people coming in. Talking about stats now, Paul. Top tacklers: Callum Watkins 33, Jack Ormonroyd 19, Sam Stone 18, Tyler Dupree 28, Chris Atkin 31, and Shane Wright 24. Forwards putting in a shift.
Yeah, there's some good numbers there, isn't there? So some good numbers, and the usual suspects as well, putting some good defensive stints in.
Yeah, Meter makers, Kensio 113, Callum Watkins 97, Brody Croft 127, King Bunny Yayawa 94, Tyler Durpree 83, Shane Wright 100, and Dion Cross 108.
That surprised me there. Tyler Dupree didn't get 100, and I thought he'd have got more than that because he seemed to play massive minutes and he was always taking the ball up. So I find that a funny stat with Tyler. But yeah, there's some good numbers in there again. Probably not as many as you would like to get over the 100, like you say. But that's probably down to the fact that we were beaten up a bit in the forwards, weren't we, by that tough Huddersfield pack.
But it shows the work rates there because Callum Watkins, Tyler Durpree, and Shane Wright are in both. So the forwards are grafting, aren't they? They're just in a difficult situation where they're playing against a bigger set of forwards, and we've got lack of bodies to sort of replace and rest and recuperate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I don't think you could question the effort. I thought the lads put a massive effort, and it was the same the week before. Don't think I was on the show the week before. Was after we played Wigan, and I thought they worked the socks off at Wigan and just came up short in that game. That was a massive effort, and I come away from that game, feeling a bit sick, really. Feeling a bit sorry for the players because it's tough on them when they give everything, and then you just come up short at the end. And they did in that game. Wigan turned it on with like Bevan French and Jai Field. Look at that game on Sunday, Huddersfield. Will Price gets injured. They go to the subs bench and call Tui Lalaria on. So it just shows the riches that Huddersfield have got, really, to be able to, field players like that on the bench. So that was ideal for them, really. So whereas we were struggling.
Yeah, big thanks for your 3-word match reports and man of the matches. Trev needs some grunt, right? Andy Roberts, boring, Watson, Watkins, it's Mike Singleton. Like you said, 3 home games, 2 straight through. He agrees with you, obviously, about our home farm.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was saying that to me last week. He said, I don't know what it is. We seem to be playing miles better away from home. Whether is it a bit of pressure? Do the players feel a bit of pressure? The crowds have been increasing a bit. Is it a bit more expectation? I'm not so sure. I don't know. Don't really buy into that. Perhaps it's just the opposition. I mean, Wakefield came and were absolutely desperate, weren't they, to get a performance? And we won that game, so a win's a win. I think the Hull KR game, perhaps we're being a bit dismissive to Hull KR because you look at them so far this season, they've been pretty good. I saw a bit of their game against Leeds last week, and they won that game. I think they've won 4 so far this season, so they're no mugs. And then Huddersfield are a decent side as well, so we shall see. We shall see in the upcoming weeks to see. I'm sure we'll start picking up some wins at home.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe that obviously teams know that with rally ball, we like to sort of move the ball around early in the set. So if they're kind of slowing the game down, we aren't getting quick play the balls, we're not making meters up the field, then we have to resort to kicking it long and open to force an error. So it's a difficult situation where maybe we need a plan B, but with a lack of bodies, then plan B is a bit more like plan A, really, but just with different men.
To be honest with you, I didn't want to say this, but I think perhaps teams are starting to work us out a little bit because I was thinking that on Sunday. I was watching. There's a couple of times where we tried to do that move with Ryan Brierley, and Huddersfield stamped on it straight away. They knew where Brierley was going. They knew where Croft was going. And Ian Watson's no mug. I mean, when he was at Salford, we used to say this, didn't we? He studies the game. He'll have been watching tapes and videos. He knows exactly how Salford play. He knows where Croft's going to be. He knows where Sneed's going to be. And teams do their own work. Coaches aren't stupid. They're not just figureheads who come on the telly and sort of give an interview. They study the game. They know what's going on. That's their job. Their job is to win that game for their team. And I think it's up to us to, like you said, come up with a plan B. We've got to do different things. You can't become a one-trick pony, can you? You've got to be able to, suss your opponent. It's like any sport. You get an opponent. Say you're a boxer or whatever. You get an opponent. You know what he's going to do. You've got to sort of counteract what he's doing and do something else, haven't you? So, any good sportsman will do that. So that's up to us and Kurt Haggerty and Paul Rowley to find a way starting this Saturday to beat Lee.
Yeah. Nicholas Fletcher lost arm wrestle right. Tom Kitchen couldn't get foothold right. Stuart Smart not our day right. Luke Keane extra man team. Tyler Durpree. Chairman Bob second best Salford Ken Seo. Rick Andrew we need reinforcements Durpree. Patrick Conley we got strangled. Atkin, I suppose the way Huddersfield play is you are kind of suffocated really. KDL for pure effort Tyler Dupree, Mike Murphy out of steam, Watkins, Louise Woodward Styles, smartest team won, Atkin, Ricky P and his dogs in sale. I saw Ricky P a couple of weeks ago. Paul, did I tell you about when I saw him on a crossroads in Sale?
You've told me about him before. That you've seen him before.
Saw him in B&M
once,
but I saw him in a crossroads in Sale in the sort of the main drag, and he was on one side of the road, and I was on the other side, and I spotted him and waved, and we started shouting over the road to each other about Salford, with cars driving either way. So I'm not sure what he got and what I got, but I think he was sort of 7 out of 10 8 out of 10 so far this season on what he's seen, I think.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of the people on the free match reports there. I mean, all the players, I think you've been mentioned, they are worthy of it. But the things people are saying, I totally get where they're coming from. Really, we were second best, and we need to get some improvement.
Yeah, there was a lot of cars though, so it might have been something totally different. Colin Wilson, injuries killing us, Dupree. Matt Young, lack of props, right. Dr. Gareth Lyons, forwards, no Devil. Anita Borden, Cold Stone. OSF, no forward penetration, Dupree. I suppose the way our sort of forward pack is, you're looking for edges. Rowley ball isn't about driving down the middle. It's about finding retreating defenders or lazy defenders to attack. So we're not going to be looking for penetrating down the middle because we haven't got the forwards to do that.
No, and I think when we played Hull, we had the forwards running out wide, didn't we? If you remember that game, Shane Wright had a field day, didn't he? In that game, he scored 2 tries, and that's the way I like us to play. Getting the ball in the channels and running like that. I don't think we've got the size to trundle teams up the middle, really, have we? I mean, we've got Dupree on there, and when you've got Adam Sidlow fit, he can do that job for us. But no, I think the way we play is mobility, isn't it? A mobile pack that moves the ball and we get about. And I think that's the brand of rugby you want to see. I mean, there's far too many teams who play that robotic sort of style of rugby, don't they? And I think we've got that reputation now as the entertainers, and I think that's the best brand we can play.
Yep. Natalie Taylor, too many injuries. CO Dom Hall missing Big Tim Atkin. CNR silly errors again. Your mate Roy Ellaby, lack of ideas. Tyler Dupree and Dave Parker, another close game. So yeah, obviously a mix of players on there. Dupree got the most really, but Wright was mentioned as well. Atkin as well. So obviously they're working hard, and you can't ask for anything more than that, can you? Really?
No, of course you can't. You can't. You couldn't really come away from that game on Sunday and go, "Oh, he didn't try, or he didn't do this, he didn't do that." They did, and you come away from the match disappointed and deflated that they've lost, because as a supporter, I mean, speaking for myself here, you feel sorry for him. You think, bloody hell, they put all that effort in there. Like the Wigan game, I came away from the Wigan game feeling gutted because they worked so hard, and it's such a difficult place to go and win a game that away from home there, and 10 minutes away from a win. You're unlucky, and I think the same against Huddersfield. Really, they're a decent side. They spent a lot of money. Just mentioned before, bringing Tuilori off the bench for Will Price, quality players. Jake Connor in the team, and Russell's a good player as well. So they've got some real quality in there, and we weren't a million miles off. We weren't far behind them at all, really. So I think with a fully fit side, we're a match for anybody. I think we can beat any team in the league on our day with a 13, the full 13. But it's just whether we're going to be able to have that, because it's tough. Super League's tough. A full season when you've only got 25, 26 players, if that really. So it's going to be hard for us.
Yeah. Let's move on to the reserves. They played Bradford away last weekend and went down 38 points to 28. Salford started well with a try from George Channock, but then Bradford scored 16 unanswered points, and then George Flanagan Jr. was sin-binned, and Salford took advantage with a try from Matthew Unsworth to make it 16-10 with about 10 minutes to go. And then Bradford, just for half time, got another sin bin as well, and we went in, unfortunately, down 22-10. But I suppose Bradford going down to, I think it was like 11 men at one point, would have took a lot out of them, out of their tank, and we took advantage in that second half a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like that. They scored some good tries, didn't they? And Jack Stevens banging over the goals as well. So yeah, it's a difficult league, isn't it? The reserve league. Bradford have got some quality players in their side there, and we're sort of still finding our feet. But I thought they gave a good effort, didn't they? A good account of themselves, and probably weren't a million miles away at the end. So disappointing with the result, but I think as like the first team, a great effort there, and it's not the end of the world. It's the start of the reserve season, so I'm sure they're going to improve.
Yeah. Scott Egan scored an assist by Matthew Rudd, and then Matthew Rudd created another try for Nathan Connell. And at that point, we were 26-22 down with about 20 minutes to go. And obviously, sort of Bradford, we're in the mixer there, but obviously they found a way, Bradford. And obviously we talk about sort of the reserves development, and games like this, they'll learn a lot, won't they? And what to do, and hopefully get a result next time.
Yeah, of course they will. They'll learn loads from it. It's about getting battle hardened, isn't it? And playing in these tough contests and getting yourself ready. And if you're in that reserves, let's have it right. You're in it because you want to play for the first team. So that's what it's all about. You want to be in there and being tested against the best and getting your body bashed about every week and getting yourself right. So yeah, I think you'll see an awful lot of improvement this season. There's some lads who in that reserve team who've had a taste of first team action, and I'm sure they'll want that again. They'll want more, so they'll be doing the best to improve and get some results.
Yeah, 10 minutes to go. John Hutchinson scored. Jack Stevens converted, and it was 32-28. But unfortunately, I think Salford were pressing at that point. We had a player put in the sin bin, Finlay Yates, with about 5 minutes to go, and Bradford took advantage and scored at the death to make it 38-28. But not too disheartened. I thought, like you say, from the information we've got, we gave them a good game. So I'm sure they'll learn from that.
Yeah, it sounds like it there, doesn't it? Got back to 32-28. That game could have gone either way then, couldn't it? And obviously you're chasing the game, and that's when you come up with mistakes. And it sounds like Bradford just about had us at arm's length there at the end just to get the result. But no, I think a great effort there, and like you said, I'm sure they're going to keep improving.
Yeah. Let's move on to the ladies. They were in action on the community pitch before the Huddersfield game, and they played Lee Leopards and went down to defeat 8 points to 26. First half, Paul, they had made a lot of errors, coughing the ball up, coming out of, I think they call it transition between like hour 20 and maybe halfway, coughed up a lot of ball. But if you're going to cough up a lot of ball, you've got to defend well, and I think they did. In that sort of period, sort of half an hour period in that first half, that the ball kept coming back, and we kept Lee out. They asked a lot of questions, but the ladies stood tall and defended well.
Yeah, sometimes when you put that much pressure on yourself, you can sap a lot of energy, can't you, doing your defending and doing your tackling, and especially if you're coming out of yardage losing the ball, they're right on you then, aren't they? So that probably took its toll, throughout the match.
Yeah, these pre-season friendlies are there to kind of educate players in it and see what works and what doesn't for when the big kickoff comes. But obviously in that first half, Lee went 10-0 up. It was a try just before half time, went sort of from right to left, went over in the corner to put them 10-0 up. But like I say, we've done a lot of defending, and I think if you're going in at 10-0 down after sort of absorbing that much defence, it's a good sign for me.
Yeah, 10-0 is not too bad when you've absorbed all that pressure and all that sort of tackling, defending you've had to do. You've done all right, really. And your opposition probably should have posted more points. And like you said, it's about getting things right. It's about getting processes right. They've had new players come in. You're going to be playing in a new league this season as well. So yeah, it's the same with any team. The pre-season, you don't go into pre-season games wanting to lose the games, but at the end of the day, it's about getting things right. You're not winning a league for winning a pre-season game or winning a cup or something, are you? Nobody remembers who won what in pre-season, do they really? So it's about getting things right and getting yourself ironed out and ready for the what's going to be a really, really tough season.
Yeah. Second half was much better. Louise Fellingham was I thought was our best sort of creative player. I thought Sam Emmons was good as well. I think the forwards were tremendous sort of throughout. Sort of Megan Condoliffe, Serena Tamau, Darcy Price, and the new signing Emerald Hickey were really making big inroads into that sort of Lee sort of defence. And obviously when you get your forwards going forward, it gives opportunity, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Just about the opposition, Rob. Are League going to be? Are they a Super League side? Are they quite a fancied team?
They're in our division. I think they've got a new coach and they've kind of gone. I think they were like Lee Minor Rangers and they've gone into like Lee Leopards. So it's kind of getting used to that sort of professional environment. And they did look quite busy really. But like I said, we absorbed a lot of defence, and I think we have to really praise our ladies for obviously we coughed a lot of ball which created that. But if you're going to cough up ball, you need to defend, and they did. So you can't really sort of moan about that. They were fantastic defensively, I thought.
Yeah, just got to stop coughing the ball up.
Yeah, basically.
For the next game.
So we had a bit of pressure on their line. Kate Gary went close. So did Brogan Evans. Kate Gary was like thrown his touch by 4 lead defenders. Brogan Evans sort of jinked away to the line, nearly went over. And then just sort of maybe 20 minutes to go, we went sort of from left to right. I think it might have been Louise Fellingham tried to put Helena Walker through a gap, went without the ball, but ball was patted down. Salford got the scrum. And then direct from the scrum, Louise went from right to left back across the field, saw the looping past to her and nose away to the line. And that's what she did. She went and scored.
Yeah. But yeah, like we said, we've got improvement to make there, but some good signs as well. I think some good signs in there, and some good combinations, and some massive efforts in there as well. So I think this season is going to be a test. There's no doubt about that. We've mentioned about the step up and moving up to the Super League division and the bigger test against better opposition, and that's what the ladies want. And I think they're going to have it tough this season, but I think they'll be relishing it.
Yeah. At that point, Paul, it was 10-4, and we had the wind in our sails there. Louise Fellingham did like a reverse kick. I think it was Alex Simpson and Hickey were there trying to collect it. Ball sort of evaded them both. One tackle later, their fullback, Lee fullback, ran 70 metres, burst our line and went under the post, which basically took sort of the wind out of us. Lee scored another long range effort from their winger from 60 metres a couple of minutes later. But I thought in the last sort of 10 minutes we sort of got back in control of the game and asked lots of questions of the lead defence, and Brogan Evans got over the line in the dying seconds. Little kick through by Louise Fellingham, and Brogan Evans pounced on the ball to register the score.
What was that, Rob? Sorry.
I said Brogan Evans dived on the ball after a little kick through by Louise Fellingham to register the final score of the game.
Yeah, and it's always good to get the last score, isn't it, of the match? And it's the same with us at weekend and the men's team. It was, even though you've lost, I think my dad always said to me, it's nice to get the last try because you go home with a smile on your face, don't you? So yeah, I think they're rewarded there for a lot of hard work and some improvements to be made, but there's some real good signs there.
Yeah, and a really good following, really, as well. Obviously, a lot of people using the bar area to watch it, from the corner. I thought it was quite a big crowd, which will sort of give everyone sort of excitement for the Super League season. That if opportunity to watch the girls come along, if the first team isn't playing, they could get quite a good crowd.
Yeah, and it was a good day as well, wasn't it? Weather-wise, the weather was absolutely lovely, wasn't it, the weekend, and quite warm as well. And yeah, I think people will do. I think it's vital now that we play on the same day. I think as the men's team, I think it's great. You can have a double header. It'd be lovely to see them on the pitch as well at the the Salford Stadium as it's called now. It'd be nice to see them on there. I don't know how that works with the groundsman and things like that, but no, I think it's great that they're on the same day. It makes it a real occasion, doesn't it? And whether you have it on after the men's side or before, I think it just adds to it. And like you said, there was a real good following there. I rolled up a bit late on Sunday, but no, another terrific atmosphere.
Yeah, so obviously defeat, but something to build on for the next game in a couple of weeks' time. So that's all the reports of the matches, and now we'll look and see what's happening in the world of Salford Devils. So we'll start, Paul, with the Building of the Future Day, which is Castleford at home. If you're part of a school or a youth group or some kind of organisation that wants to get involved, you've got till Friday to contact the club and get your tickets, because obviously they do need to have a deadline, don't they, Paul, to get organised. And it's important. Obviously, we've had a couple of these building for the future days, and they've had a good turnout. So we're hoping for more of the same this time around.
Yeah, it's a Thursday night, that Castleford game, isn't it? So yeah, the nights are getting a bit lighter now, aren't they, with the clocks going forward and things like that. And Thursday nights, I suppose, isn't too bad. You know, if you're a kid at school and you behave yourself all week, I'm sure you can have a late night Thursday and you'll get off for school on Friday, won't you? So, but yeah, I think there'll be a big crowd there again for that. I think they've worked really well these days, haven't we? We've had a lot of school kids there, and youngsters going to their matches. They've really taken to it, haven't they? And it'd be great to see them in that East Stand again if they put them all in there and really cheer the team on. And last season it was really great to see the players spending time signing autographs and things like that. I think it's a real good thing to do. So yeah, it should be another exciting night. That.
Yeah, obviously, the way sort of we kind of run as a club, we want to be a community club, don't we? So it's important. Obviously, these days are taken up by the community. I'm sure we've done our groundwork. We're into schools, we're into sort of sport clubs, aren't we? To hopefully sort of pass on the sort of the baton to a new generation of fans, because obviously it's all about sort of finding the youth into it and starting that progress all over again.
Yeah, to be honest, Rob, I think out of all the teams in Super League, I think with the resources we've got, I think we're head and shoulders above a lot of clubs. I really do. I think the work we do is absolutely fantastic, and I've seen loads and loads of youngsters coming to the matches recently, and I sort of walk quite a long way to the games, and the amount of kids that you do see going and chatting to the parents and that, I think it's great. I think we've really seen an uptake on it, and I think you just got to look at the attendances as well. I know they're not huge, but they're improving.
Yeah, I think
the crowds are going up. For the corresponding fixtures last year, I don't think we get anywhere near 4,700 against Huddersfield last season. I think, there was an awful lot of. I mean, Huddersfield, given the due, they brought quite a few supporters on Sunday, but the home fans, I think, are really getting into it. There's a lot of kids going to the games now, and that's good, for the future.
Yeah, they have that match day experience, don't we? That's the important thing. We're kind of working on that. We've got the music and the getter blasters. We've got the bars, and we've got the food outlets. We've got ladies playing on the outside pitches. We've got things going on rather than just go to the game, watch the game, come home again. Because we've talked about it before, haven't we? Where it needs to be more of an event, doesn't it, rather than just play your match and go home. And that's the important thing, I think, really. There is sort of progress to be made. We're not the finished article, but we are going in the right direction.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, give a shout out to Lee Leopards, kind of, because I think we'll be going there Saturday, and you look at what they've done this season. I can only speak of the match we went to on the opening night. It was a fantastic event, and I've seen bits of them on the telly. They've had like live bands and famous people there every week, and obviously that's cost them money, but they really have speculated. And credit to the Derek Beaumont who puts money in there, doesn't he? And they've seen their crowds go right up now, so they're doing the right thing. Well, obviously we're not a wash with like loads of money to be getting blooming Tapau on and people scouting for girls and people like that. So, but what we are doing, like you said, is making it into an event and making it into like a carnival atmosphere before the game, and that's what it's like when you sort of roll up there at the front. There was a bus there the other week with a bar on it and things like that. So yeah, and I mean in the summer last season, for example, we had some really hot days, didn't we? In the summer, I can remember us beating Catalan at home and the Huddersfield game at home, St Helens at home. We had some great days, and the sun was out at the ground there. And yeah, it might be a bit windy there and a bit chilly in the winter, but if you get a hot day there, it's lovely. It really is lovely to be part of. So yeah, let's hope we get some more days like that throughout the season.
Yep. Let's move on. Ryan Lannon has signed for Halifax for an undisclosed fee. Obviously left us after 11 years at Salford. Came to us in 2012 through our sort of academy system. Debuted in 2015. It's been a real stalwart for us through the years.
Yeah, he left for a while, didn't he? Went to OKR for a bit,
Yeah.
and then came back. So I can remember Ryan playing. I'm sure it was OKR away when he come on. A good number of years ago, he was playing towards the back end of the season. I'm sure he made his debut around about that time. And yeah, a really, really good young player. And really shame to see him go, to be honest with you, Rob. He's not really had a smell in this season, as he's not played any of the friendlies, he's not played any of the matches, so I don't know why. But he's a real character as well around the squad, and he's aggressive, and he's always give 100%. So I'll be disappointed to see him go. I really will, because when a player's been around that sort of long, they become part of the club, don't they? And a bit like when Niall Evans left to go to Castleford, you just associate him with the club because they've been there that long. And I think, Ryan's from that sort of school, isn't he? So yeah, disappointing to see him go. But Halifax have gained a really decent lad there, and they're a club on the up at the moment, aren't they? Dan Murray's there as well, so Halifax. So I'm sure they'll be reunited with him, and they're doing well in the Championship.
104 appearances, 11 tries for Salford. Like you said, 2 stints. I always thought it was great. I think it was on the edge as an edge runner. He was quick, and you don't really get quick forwards very often, do you? And I thought, memories of him scoring against Warrington from 40 metres from an edge, will stick in the memory. But yeah, he's come through our system, and he's one of our own in a way. We wish him all the best, and like you say, he did a a good stint for us, worked hard. Obviously, wish him well at Halifax.
Yeah, good luck, Ryan.
Yeah. So other news, there is another Salford Devils Foundation rugby session being held for primary school girls. It's on the 18th of April. It's being held at Langworthy Reds and Cadizhead Rhinos from 6 till 7. Which is great. Obviously, we're really sort of trying to get this sort of ladies and girls rugby going to try and build a pathway into our ladies team.
Yeah, I was reading about that. I think that's been held in a lot of the schools, isn't it, in the Northwest? And I think it's great. It's a great story, that. And I saw the mascot that they've got, the rugby. It looked really good. So yeah, I think that'd be great. That to get more girls involved in the sport from a young age and get them playing, and especially start playing it in schools as well. I think that's wonderful news.
Yep. So if you're if you got a girl who wants to get involved in that, contact james.molyneux at salfordcc.ac.uk. And if you have a girl who's between under 13 and under 15s, 17th of May to the 5th of July, there's 3 sort of rugby training sessions being run. One at Salford City Roosters, one at St. Peter's Roman Catholic School, and one at Blessed Thomas in Trafford. Salford City Roosters is 6 till 7, St. Peter's Roman Catholic at 4 till 5, and Blessed Thomas in Trafford is from 4:30 to 5:30, which is great. Obviously, the club are involved in that. I think is it Demi Jones and Brogan Evans involved in helping the kids train, so that's good news as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, the girls can see, they can see in real life, can't they, what these ladies can achieve, playing for Salford's ladies team. So I'm all for this. I think it's great, and should be a great summer, getting more and more kids involved, more and more youngsters involved, more and more ladies involved.
Yeah, Cadizhead Rhinos is doing their touch rugby now at Lord Street. I think it's on a Monday, 7 till 8. Obviously, we talk about the different forms of rugby you can play now. Touch rugby, wheelchair rugby. It's rugby for everyone.
Is the walking rugby as well, Rob?
Walking rugby as well.
I've heard of that. Yeah, walking rugby. John Blackburn's tried getting me down for doing that. I think did he ask you about that?
Well, he's probably asking you because you're about 8 foot tall and your stride pattern will be bigger than everyone else's.
Not because my back and knees are gone and I can't hardly walk. But the more people that get involved in the sport, Rob, like we were saying before, the community feel at Salford, I think over the last couple of years has been absolutely outstanding. And I just mentioned it briefly before about what we do in the community, and especially with this IMG thing and what have you. I think they need to take a close look at Salford and what they do for what we've got as a staff. I think is absolutely remarkable. I think what the foundation do, a lot of unrewarded work. Me and Parky were going out about the other week, weren't we, singing the praises, and I'll sing it again because I think what they do is outstanding in the community.
Yeah, obviously with the IMG, is there something broke today? Have they changed the thing slightly about the community stuff, the catchment Here it is. The catchment category has been renamed community and will include points under a proposed model of clubs' positive impact in the communities in which the sport is based and played. So they're kind of tinkering a little bit with this the IMG proposals. I suppose they've had contact with the club, aren't they? The clubs, aren't they? Recently, so they probably had a bit of a chat and decided to bend the rules a little bit to hopefully help them out.
Don't think I was on when Parky had his IMG rant, was I?
No.
Well, I've got my own feelings on it, but he could do an whole show on that, so I'll leave it.
Are you going to leave it tonight, or are you going to go?
No, well, I'll give you my opinion if you like.
Go on.
Right. I think sport is difficult to be measured by. I'll just tell you briefly by what they're trying to tell us, because it's not like a board game, rugby league. It's a sport, the same as football's a sport and things like that. So you're always going to have a team at the bottom. You're always going to have a team that's got less crowd than others. There's always going to be the haves and who have nots. And I think what they're trying to do is he's trying to even it all out, and it doesn't work like that. It's a very, very complicated sport. It's very, very complex. So I think when you're looking at giving points for things and that, I don't know, you're in danger of sort of brushing teams away, and I don't know how you can ever sort of parachute teams into big cities and things like that. So they make it sound good, but the logistics of it's very, very difficult. So we'll have to just watch how it all works out. But I didn't really agree with the point scoring system. I think you look at it. I think on the field should be the main one. On the field, your performance on the field is sport, for God's sake. You're not playing Monopoly where I've got more money than him, so I've won. That's not how it works. It's got to be on the field. But there's an awful lot of mitigation in it as well, I think, and things that are going to go on. So it's a bit like, they say there's a few things in life at the moment, like electric cars and things like, we're gonna do this by 2030.
Yeah.
In my field at the moment, doing boilers, it's right. We're going to get rid of gas by 2030, so it's going to be on hydrogen. All right, okay. Well, how's that going to work? And then now they're saying, well, maybe 2040. So they're pushing it back 10 years now because they've not thought it through. It's a bit like electric cars. The infrastructure is not quite there yet, so you can't run before you can walk. So I'm probably waffling on a bit here, but what I'm trying to say is the infrastructure in place yet for this IMG thing? So are the clubs taking it seriously? You can't do all this before teams are ready. So I probably used a bad example using electric cars and hydrogen boilers, but you know where I'm coming from, don't you? So
yeah, I don't think they were. I thought they were brilliant examples, really, because, like you said, really, what this is about standards, in it. It's about saying to clubs, right? You can't sleepwalk through the next 30 years, right? Just doing enough to keep you in the Super League. What we're going to do, we're going to continuously raise the bar to say to you, are you doing enough for rugby league? Are you doing enough for rugby league in Super League to guarantee your place? And I have no doubt, Salford point of view, we are doing loads. We are going 70 mile an hour here. Just because obviously the where we find ourselves, with the situation that we're in, it's all hands to the pump, and it always has been. But now we've got the right people in the right places doing the right stuff. So we are in pole position, I think, for this IMG thing. Other clubs maybe just relying on, having a big crowd because they're their only team in the city. And they just think it doesn't matter what we do because 8,000 people are going to turn up regardless. And that's not what rugby league should be. If we want to grow the sport, everybody needs to be pushing themselves to get better.
Yeah, nail on the head. I mean, that's exactly what the point I was trying to make, really. I do struggle to try and make points sometimes. I know what I'm trying to say, and I struggle to get it out. And that's what I meant. I don't think you should be jettisoned just because you're not getting 10, 15,000 people watching you. I think what the IMG should say is, blimey, that's all for they're doing loads in the community. Yeah, they only get 5,000 or 4,500 watching every week, but blimey, the whole community is involved and they're giving opportunities to everybody. And I think that's what should be brought in. You shouldn't be cast aside just because you're not getting 10,000 people. So it's like in football. I mean, I think we're recording this, Wednesday night? Man United playing Brentford tonight. in football. You look at the difference between those two clubs; it's absolutely vast. You know, United will get 70,000 on a Saturday. Brentford might get 15,000. The money at Manchester United is through the roof. I mean, you go all around the world, people have Man United kits on. They won't have Brentford kits on, but Brentford is still allowed in the Premier League, and that's how it should be. And I don't want rugby league to be your crowds are rubbish, you're not in. We'll have a team in Cardiff because we've got a big city there. We'll have a team here because there's a big city there and there's loads of money. It shouldn't be about that. It should be about the community and history, and there should be all sorts of things involved in it. But you shouldn't just be cast aside just because you're not getting a huge crowd and you've got a big backer and loads of money.
And I also think little things like, what's your social media presence? That's you could just pay a social media sort of company to give you 25,000 bots and just add that on top of what you've got on your Twitter, and then anyone looking at it will think, well, they've got 125,000 fans when really they haven't. So I don't see that as being a thing. And also the way they say, oh yeah, we need to make sure that we need to have a big screen at every game. I do agree we need to have a big screen at every game, but I don't think it's up to the clubs to fund that. I think the Super League should say, we're going to get you a screen and give you a screen to manage, rather than us having to find the funds to get one. Because obviously we need Super League to be a fair playing field, don't we? And we know games are refereed different when they are on TV than they are when they're not. So if everybody has a screen, hopefully everything gets refereed the same way, and us fans can actually look at a decision again and say, oh yeah, that is why it gave that decision. Because a lot of times, I mean, we've got RDTV now, which is fantastic. So every time there is a decision, you think to yourself, oh, that was wonder why he gave that. You could just pop on RDTV, watch the match and rewind it, fast forward it, and then see whether he made the right decision or not. But yeah, I think it's important that all clubs, like you say, want to achieve and want to sort of push the sport forward. But I do believe that Super League do need to do what they need to do, which is provide, things like screens to the teams.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. I think that's always been the case, that for me with the big screen and things like that. It's like, how can you have a big screen at just one game? You know, when Sky first started doing it, you've got one game on the telly on the Friday night and the rest of the games haven't got a screen. And it's just like, well, it's not a level playing field, is it? It's like, it's got to be the same at every game, hasn't it? Surely to God to make the game, right. And there can't be these sort of situations where you've not got them. So for me, even if you don't have a big screen there, have a video ref that's got a monitor, because you can not have one game without a video ref and one game with. For me, it doesn't. You either have them at all the games. Or, to be honest, Rob, if it was me, I'd ditch it. I'd just get rid of it and just leave it to the referee and just let him make a decision. Because 20, 30, 40 years ago, when we first started watching the game, we had big screens then. And was the game any worse than it is now? Was there loads of controversial decisions? Did loads of teams win things where they shouldn't have won because it was terrible decisions? So I don't think the decisions were that bad anyway. So yeah, it's all right that you have them and all that. But if you are going to have them, like you said, you've got to have the technology at each game and make it fair and level. And I think another thing referees need to do. I mean, I've got no axe to grind against referees at all. I mean, I never really slag referees off. I don't on my videos. I might say the odd thing, but I'd never berate a referee because it's a tough job. But one thing I would say is that they should do is when they do make some decisions, let the crowd know what you've done, because a lot of the time they don't signal what it's for, or there'll be a 6 again. Nobody knows what it's for. Can we just have a bit more, whereas you can tell us what it is a bit more, because there's a lot of grey areas, and perhaps even at the end of the game, perhaps Sky should interview a referee and say, "Oh, how do you think you went today? What did you make that decision for?" And just the humans, Rob. I think people would respect them a lot more if they came across and were a bit more grounded and sort of said, "Yeah, perhaps I did get that wrong today, or I didn't see that, or whatever." I think we'd be able to relate to them a lot more than what we do.
Yeah, I think miking up would be a good idea. Just so, like you say, they can say to the crowd, penalty Salford because this happened. But my only worry would be if the ref forgets to turn off the mic and then you hear him running around. that might be something. But then I also think the point you make about sort of interviewing referees after the game is it's dangerous, that, because say they do make a mistake, right? You then the interview then goes to the referee and says, "Watch this monitor. What went wrong there?" And all he can basically say is, "From where I was stood, I think it was the right decision. Whether it was right or wrong."
Yeah,
And
I
I think that might put potential referees off if they are basically hung out to dry if they make a bad decision.
Well, you're human, aren't you, Rob? You're human like everybody else. It's like, say, a player knocks the ball on with a line begging and they lose the cup final. You don't get paid to drop the ball. You get paid to catch the ball and score, don't you? And it's a human error. It's a mistake, isn't it? And everybody's going to make mistakes, and they will do till the next 100 years, won't they? So, yeah, I mean, perhaps it's a bit of a daft idea to interview referees. Nobody wants to hear what a referee's got to say, really, do they? But no, what I'm trying to say is it's a tough job. It is difficult. I mean, even with the video replay now, how many times do you watch a game on Sky on a Friday night when you're Salford out playing? There'll be another game where I'll sit there and watch it and think, God, he's gone to the big screen there. I can't see the ball. There's loads of people in the way. How do you make a decision? And you have this on-field decision of try, and then the video referee is looking at it and going, well, he said try on the field. I can't see anything. I mean, it might not be a try, but I'll have to go with what he said because. So there's a lot of things like that in there, I suppose, and it's difficult to get to the right decision.
I think the referee there is kind of hoping that there's a camera angle to pick it up, because obviously in that situation where there's just bodies all over. I remember I was watching like an Australian game. I think it was last Friday or the Friday before, where they have a camera in the corner flag or something, and the player reached over to score, but somebody sort of took the flag out, so you couldn't. The camera wasn't. There was no camera to see, so they had to find another angle to try and sort of see if he grounded it or not. Which is a thing. Obviously, they've got a lot more cameras, got a bigger budget, I suppose, with what cameras they've got available to them. But yeah, I think rugby league and sport it's too big now not to have it, because teams can be relegated, people can lose jobs on a human error. It would be bad, I think, if that happened.
Just speaking about Australia as well, I mean, I don't like slagging off the rugby league over here, but I've watched quite a lot of NRL recently, and it's fantastic. I saw the game the other week. It was Penrith. I don't know if I spoke about this on the podcast, and they were losing, and the viewers will remember it. Nathan Cleary, I keep calling him Ivan Cleary's dad. Nathan Cleary kicks for touch for a penalty, nails it on the 40-yard. He knows exactly what he's going to do. Gets the ball back, pings it over. Did you see it? The 2-point drop goal
from an angle.
The game. Oh, and I thought he's absolutely. I was just sat there on the end of my couch because I didn't know the score, and then obviously I think it was Parramatta went down the other end and dropped a goal and won the game. So all the good work he'd done was null and void anyway, sort of thing. But I just thought it was brilliant because the commentary team and the people who were doing it the whole game, they just were so positive all the way through, and they were just painting this picture of this fantastic, the light, even the lighting in the ground was just all shiny. The pitch, it was just brilliant. And then I turned my telly on Friday night to watch Sky, and it's like knockabout. They were all like taking a mickey, and just made it sound negative. And I thought, why do we sort of highlight all the mistakes and highlight this and highlight that? Let's say how great that was and how great this was. And Australians do that really well. And I listen to a lot of their, bit sad me, I listen to a lot of their commentary at work. The radio commentary you can get on your phone. I'll be driving about in my van doing my job, and I can listen to Aussie rugby commentary. And there's a guy called Andrew Moore who does the commentary. Listen to it; it's absolutely brilliant. Some of the stuff he says, his one-liners and that. And I think we need to take a leaf out of their book. I mean, when Vossi came over here I know I'm monologuing a bit now. When Vossi came over for the World Cup, I just thought he was a breath of fresh air. I just thought he was absolutely brilliant. And then we go back to our stuff, and it's so negative. So I try and keep positive when I do my little reports, and that I think it's the best way, I think, to be positive and happy and highlight what's good about the sport.
Yeah, I've said that before on this podcast that the Australians have it right, and they promote the positives, and even if they look like they could be a knock on or just some debate, they just wash over it and just talk about how great the try was. When before we'd be like, our rugby league commentary team who think, well, did he knock on there? Was he offside? Ooh, when Australia talking about how fantastic the move was and how athletic the guy diving over the line was. And it paints a picture, like you said, it's all about painting pictures in it. And I think that's what rugby league fails to do a lot of the time. I go back to the £1 Million Miracle where Gaz O'Brien drops a goal from 50 yards out after 2 tries in 2 minutes. But all was talked about was two fans clashing after the match. When really rugby league, that was a moment for rugby league to say, this is unbelievable sport, and it just failed to take that opportunity. It decided to focus on the negative, and that is why we are where we are. We need a sea change really on how we promote both players, clubs, and sport.
You shouldn't have asked me about that IMG, should you?
Well, I think we
you
had a
asked me
good
about
chat about
IMG, and we've ended up putting the rugby league world to right somewhere. Yeah, but no, we should do a show on that. I mean, I listened to Parky when he spoke about it, and I think I think us three, we all sort of think the same way, don't we? And we believe in the sport, don't we? I don't think we just Salford supporters. We are rugby league people, aren't we? And a lot of people in rugby league are like that. You don't just follow your team, you follow the sport. And I think you look out for the sport and you want the sport to do well, don't you? And perhaps football is a bit more tribal, but rugby league, I think, it is a family sport, isn't it? And you just want the sport to succeed, and because it's such a great sport and such a great spectacle. I mean, I've just been sat in my van today doing the World of Rugby League when I got a minute, and I was looking at all the fixtures for Easter, and it's a proper feast of rugby league. I'm hoping, if I can, to get to Rochdale Hornets against Oldham on Good Friday night, just to take an extra game in. So it's an exciting time, isn't it? And yeah, let's get behind this great sport we've got.
Yeah, talk about Whiteside World of Rugby League. Here it is now. So that was Whiteside's World of Rugby League, and now we'll look forward to the Lee Leopards game on Saturday. So Salford travel to Lee on Saturday. Second time they've travelled to Lee this season after being victorious in the first game of the season, Paul. Obviously, different circumstances now. A few bodies missing. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough, yeah. And Lee they've not done too bad. I mean, I said to Paul Rowley in the interview they'd improved, and he disagreed with me, but I think they have. I think they've done all right. I think they've had 2 good wins away from home. They've won at Hull KR and Hull, and that's tough to go to both Hull clubs and get results. They beat St Helens. I think they've had some hard games. Well, they've been to Catalans away, and they were unlucky. They went to Warrington and weren't absolutely hammered. They played Wigan and Saints at home and won one of them. So they've had a real baptism of fire and a tough start to the season. They've got 3 victories out of the 7 games. So yeah, I think they'll be battle hardened now going into this game. They've got used to the pace of Super League, and I don't think, like Paul Rowley said, I don't think they were a million miles off us in round 1, whether it was a tight game. So I think this one will be tight. I don't think we'll come away from this hammeringly. I think it'll be a really close game on Saturday. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at us. They've got a bit of confidence now. I'm sure there's going to be another good crowd there. I don't know what music they've got on this week. What band have they got on this week? And have they said?
I think Paul Rowley mentioned, was it an Elvis impersonation? No, was it his favourite band was Elvis? Don't know. But yeah, I think it's an Elvis impersonator.
Right.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, I'll be getting there early on Saturday then for that. So, so they'll be throwing the kitchen sink at us, won't they? And it's a derby game as well. So I'm expecting a really tough game. And I suppose, as we're recording the squad yet for the match, we don't know if there's anybody coming back or not. So, no, I think we should have enough to get the result. But I think it's going to be a really tough game.
Yeah, there's an Elvis impersonator and a Robbie Williams impersonator.
Right.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely.
Elvis v Robbie on the big stage, which is, I like them both. Good, some bangers. Both of them produce some good bangers.
Yeah, I think you've got to give Lee an awful lot of credit this season. I think they've really sold it to the town, haven't they? And the town are getting behind them, and I think it's great. I mean, in a way, I hope they stay up this season. I hope they do well, and I don't want them to finish near the bottom. No, I hope we finish above them, but I think it's good for them. I think it's good to have a good competitive team in Lee. They're a good name in the sport. They've got an awful lot of history as well. So it's good to see teams doing well. I like all that. A side comes up, they're getting big crowds. there's a real buzz around the place, and that's positive for me. So as long as we get the result on Saturday, that's the main thing. But it should be great. It should be a great atmosphere. It's an Easter game. There's going to be a big crowd there, and what more can you ask for? Decent weather as well, hopefully, and two sides that are going to bash the hell out of each other. So it should be a cracking match.
Yeah, Zach Hardacre, Lachlan Lamb, two danger men for me. I think Gaz O'Brien, he got an head banged in it last week, so I don't know whether he'll be fit or not. But we'll have to wait and see, I suppose.
No, he got clouted against Wigan, didn't he? So I don't think he'll be playing. I think he's out. Is it for 10 days now for the protocol? So I don't think Gaz O'Brien will be playing. One player I've seen in the Leeds squad recently who I forgot he signed for Leeds, Ben Nakabuai. I know he played against Wigan as well. It's good to see Ben playing. So I liked him at Salford. But they've got an all-round good squad. You look at Josh Charnley there. He's got lots of pace. Zach Hardacre, as you mentioned. Briscoe, the other winger. I mean, Lachlan Lamb has been very, very impressive. He's really, really quick, isn't he? And the hooker, Edwin Apape, I'm very, very impressed with him. And they've got a decent pack as well. They've got a really good competitive squad. So they've proved it, Rob, with the wins that they've had. Winning away from home at both Hull clubs and winning well. Winning well in those games and beating Saints. And the other games they've played in, they've not been a million miles of. They've not been like a few times when Lee have been in the Super League, they've been the whipping boys, haven't they? Whereas now they seem a lot tougher to beat. So yeah, Saturday's going to be. It's going to be. You're going to ask me for a prediction soon, and I don't know. I've not really thought yet, to be honest, about my prediction, but I think it's going to be tough.
I'm going to ask you about the weather first, though.
Well, it's been lovely, hasn't it, this week? Monday, Tuesday, it was really sunny, and then Wednesday, it's not been so clever. I've been all over the place on Wednesday. Burnley, Wigan. Where else have I been? Caddy's Head this afternoon. I was in Caddy's Head this afternoon. It's just rained all day, so I'm hoping. I was getting it up on my phone now.
Yeah,
I'm not
maybe
too
in
sure what the weather is.
Resident weatherman.
Let's have a look.
Just need you to inform our listeners what kind of attire they might need to wear on Saturday.
Well, this is Oldham, so I live just on the border of Middleton and Oldham and Chadderton. So it's got cloudy. So Manchester, that's sort of leaning it. 15 and 5 and cloudy. So it doesn't look like it's going to rain. So yeah,
what
15.
Is it then? Little jacket.
Yeah, Cagoule, wind cheater, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Chelsea.
Good to know.
don't think you need your big coat anyway.
No, keep the big coat at home. So prediction time. What's your thought process on that?
Yeah, let's have a look. What I said, I'd do the prediction league with Parky, don't I?
How's it going?
I was 4th last week. I've dropped down. Apparently, I've had 3 correct scores this season. Where you get the score absolutely bang on. And I've never had that ever before, and I've had 3 this season. But I had a really bad week. I think I've dropped back down to 10th now. So yeah, I think Parky's doing all right. I think there's me, him, and my dad are in the top 10. So we're doing all right at the moment, yeah. Let me see who I've gone for this week. I've gone for... Let's have a look. I've gone for Salford. 26-16 to Salford. Yeah.
26-16. I'm going to go Salford to win. I'm going to go Lee 10. Salford 28. 28-10. Ken CO hat-trick.
Yeah, you see, Ken's been a bit quiet so far this season. He's not been his dry, bustling self, has he? So it'd be good to see him get over the line.
Yeah. So that's the end of another podcast, Paul. Another great show. Just want to say big thanks to all our listeners who have donated via the Ko-fi. Allows us to sort of get programs and equipment to help your podcast experience be better every week. We're so glad that our listeners put their hand in their pockets to help us improve, Paul.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, thank you to everybody who keeps listening and donating and whatever to keep the show going and keep us going. It's excellent to see everybody, getting behind us and the nice words that you get from people. I know Parky he's got his own fan club now, hasn't he? so it sells. So yeah, and he does a great job as well. So hopefully we'll get him back. Hopefully all 3 of us can get on the show soon. It's been difficult, I think, getting all 3 of us around the table. So maybe next week.
Because you're both getting famous, you see, so it's hard to get you both booked.
Well, I'm always working.
This is it.
That's my thing. There's always someone mithering about a boiler or something or other. But hopefully it'll get a bit quieter now. I was hoping it's going to quieten down this year anyway. The price of gas. thought people stopped using the borrows and it make it quieter for me, but it seems to be getting worse.
This is it. Keeping Britain warm. That's the big challenge for you in 2023. Paul,
Yeah.
we've come out of the dark, cold period, and now with the temperatures going up, it makes your job easier.
Yeah, it should do, hopefully. The only problem with us working at Backs, where I work now, is we tend to get more miles to do, because we're not doing as much work, so they give us more travelling to do. But no, I enjoy my job. I enjoy who I work for now. I've been there for about 18 months now, and I absolutely love it. Every day is mint. So yeah, it's tiring without driving and that, but I have a smile on my face again. So that's the good thing. And I apologise to the listeners as well, because I keep forgetting every time I record the World of Rugby League, I have my engine running.
No.
So I'm so sorry. Next week because I always do it at work when I get my break. So next week I'll turn the engine off and it'll be a bit quieter. Sorry.
Yeah. I think the reason why he's got a smile on his face because he's full of coffee with all the Costa coffees he's having on the motorway stops.
Something like that,
yeah. Yeah, so big thanks to tuning in this week's Devil in Detail podcast. I'm Rob Parkinson. You can find us on Facebook, Devil in Detail SRD. You can find us on Twitter at DITDSRD. And you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Radio Contact, Spotify, and YouTube. See you soon.